He is in excellent shape. They're wiping his brow as is customary because those suits, the SoCo launch and entry suits, get very warm for the crew members during the re-entry phase. But Yurchikhin is flashing a broad smile. Valery Korzun, veteran cosmonaut who flew with Peggy Whitson, NASA's chief astronaut, on one of the early expeditions to the International Space Station. Korzun is here in supervising the recovery of the crew for the Gagarin cosmonauts. The training center is part of the search and recovery forces, and we're now looking at Fyodor Yurchikhin. You're probably seeing the same thing that we are. He is basically sitting still, acclimating himself to a gravity environment, as we said before, but everything is proceeding in excellent shape. This is one of the quickest recovery procedures that I've ever been involved in. Again, the helicopters were down literally within 2 to 3 minutes of the actual touchdown of the spacecraft, and as we said before, the hatch was open, the top hatch of the Soyuz was open almost immediately after touchdown, and the process of extracting the crew is well underway.
This is some of the best video that we've seen live from the landing site as we continue to take a look at Fyodor Yurchikhin. The one thing that we cannot see is exactly what type of area that the Soyuz landed in. Is it out in a typical field like it always is? Is there any snow on the ground? What can you see?
A wide open field, Josh. Obviously, we're on the cusp of the beginning of winter. Just some patches of snow. Not much, actually. A very, very dry field, a very open area in this location about 80 kilometers to the northeast of Arkelik, where we took off in our helicopters about an hour or so ago. There's not much in the way of undulating terrain like we typically see for one of these landing sites. It's quite flat and obviously enhanced the ability of the helicopters to land almost within seconds, if not minutes, of the spacecraft's touchdown itself. This was a bullseye landing for the TMA-19, no question.
Well, Rob, we appreciate the update. It helps to get the eyes on the ground there as we continue to take a look at this video. We will continue to monitor this. If you see anything, feel free to call us back. But you guys have a safe trip back to Kustanai as you get back on those helicopters and fly back, and also head back toward Houston with the crew.
We'll do that, Josh. We are, again, expecting either Wheelock or Walker to be extracted from the spacecraft almost any second now. They'll be placed in their reclining chairs on either side of Fyodor Yurchikhin, basically in the same configuration in which they were strapped into their seats in the descent module for the ride back home. There's very little wind out here. One of the NASA contingent actually has a bouquet of flowers ready to present to Shannon Walker once she is extracted from the spacecraft and placed in her reclining chair. So you'll enjoy those images as much as we will just seconds from now.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Rob. That is NASA Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius. They're standing just a few feet away from the crew as they continue to be pulled out of the Soyuz TMA-19 spacecraft that flew under the call sign of Olympus. As you heard Rob report, that the crew looks to be in very good shape. Obviously, as you can see there on the screen, Fyodor Yurchikhin continuing to talk with the search and recovery forces. You see the other two couches set up on the left and right of him, getting ready to welcome Doug Wheelock and Shannon Walker as they get extracted from the capsule as well. It is fairly cold out there. It's in the 30s, and you can see that light wind blowing that Russian flag there. But not very much snow or ice on the ground, which is typical for this time of year. But as you heard Rob talking about, the Russians and the entire teams there making very quick work of all this activity. As you heard Rob talk about, the helicopters were on the ground within 2 to 3 minutes after the Soyuz actually landed, which is extremely fast. And this search and recovery team continues to get the crew pulled out. There's a live shot of the TMA-19 spacecraft. The crew's continuing to work inside the hatch there. As you can see, it did land on its side.
And Josh, if I'm still with you, if you can acknowledge me,
we can hear you, Rob. Go ahead.
Okay, Josh, I was just about to say that this morning in Kustenai, which was the staging area from which we departed for Arkelik yesterday, it was in fact raining this morning, but the Expedition 25 crew was quite fortunate, as well as the search and recovery forces, in the sense that this landing occurred literally in between two fronts, one that passed southeast of Moscow a couple of days ago that resulted in fairly inclement weather in the Kustenai area overnight. That front passing through Kustenai, but just to the north of the landing site here, that's what has resulted in overcast skies, but ideal landing conditions in the sense of dry conditions for the Soyuz spacecraft and the three crew members.
Rob, they told us that there was a cloud ceiling at about 10,000 feet. It kind of looks like that from the TV pictures that we're getting. Can you confirm that?
Yes, indeed. The sun is out over us, but it is in fact very hazy, and you can tell that that low overcast, quite prominent, thick clouds, but no precipitation in those clouds as this front moves to the north and to the east of the landing site. And that's good news because that will facilitate the recovery teams and the three crew members getting back into their helicopters about an hour and 15 to 20 minutes from now and being able to fly unencumbered by the weather back to Kustenai, where they then will board their respective planes. Yurchikhin will board the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for a 2.5-hour flight back to Chkalovsky Airfield outside of Star City, the training base and his home in Russia. And Wheelock and Walker will board the NASA plane that is at the Kustenai Airport for the flight back to Ellington Field near the Johnson Space Center. But again, the weather, although quite cold out here today, the winds are not particularly disturbing, and although we have overcast skies, the conditions were just perfect for a Soyuz landing today.
Yeah, I'm fairly jealous of the weather there. Has the
in the area of the capsule and circled the capsule during its final descent just after the chutes opened, and I can tell you after seeing some frames that Bill shot while strapped into his harness with the helicopter door open, and him and other photographers literally almost hanging out of the hatchway of the helicopter, he got some excellent shots, including one money shot of the soft landing engines firing just a split second before touchdown. There'll be some great photos that you all will be seeing a short time from now. We now have a second crew member out, and we're waiting for that crew member to be brought right past us. And let's see. This is going to be Shannon Walker. Shannon Walker going right past us to her chair. So Doug Wheelock remains inside in the right seat. He'll be extracted just a short time from now. But Shannon Walker now out of the spacecraft in her reclining chair and being tended to by the recovery forces and her flight surgeon, Shannon Moynihan, who's nearby. Shannon appears to be in good shape as well. No issues.
And Rob, they really are getting these crew members out fairly fast. Like we talked about, these operations already very quickly, but they're working on overtime this time. It's fairly impressive.
It takes just a little bit more time than if a spacecraft, a Soyuz spacecraft, lands upright, of course, because the crew members, depending on the amount of roll that the spacecraft had once it went over onto its side, are not in the optimum orientation relative to their restraining straps. So they have to carefully remove those straps and get the crew members out after a bit of acclimation to Earth's gravity, but it's all part of the process, and Shannon Walker looks to me to be in good shape as we await the extraction of Doug Wheelock to complete that process.
Yeah, you mentioned whenever they pull the crew members out, whenever the Soyuz is upright, that's what happened with Tracy Caldwell Dyson here just a few weeks ago. Whenever she came back, the Soyuz landed on its bottom and stood upright. And it's interesting to see how the Russians do it, because they affix almost what looks like a slide to the side of the spacecraft, and they literally slide the crew members down to get them out.
No such slide today. It's just the team of search and recovery forces and the Energia technical personnel who were right on the scene, literally within minutes, less than 5 minutes after touchdown, to begin the process of opening the hatch. Shannon Walker has been given her bouquet.
And talking with all the different team members around her.
So they're making sure that the crew members are bundled up because it is a bit chilly out here. They will not be in their chairs for very long. Shannon Walker flashing me a smile and a wink of the eye. She looks to be in great shape, and we should be just a few seconds away from Doug Wheelock joining his crewmates in these reclining chairs, Josh.
And Rob, as you continue to give us the report there on the ground, people will notice, whenever these crew members get out of this Soyuz, they've been up in space for more than 5 months. You will notice that they keep their heads very, very still. The reason for that, obviously, is because their bodies and their inner ears are not quite used to the gravity yet, so they keep their heads still so they don't get dizzy or get lightheaded.
The team is about to carry him over to this reclining chair. We'll get a glimpse of him just moments from now. Here he comes, right in front of me. He'll be moving right past me into his reclining chair. He's waving, flashing a big smile as they put him into his chair. And we'll get a moment with him just a second or two from now. But today's reentry went by the book, Josh. It was textbook.
It'll be interesting to talk to Doug to get him to compare the shuttle reentry to the Soyuz reentry. We've been talking about the fact that he flew on STS-120 back, I guess, 3 years ago, almost to the day, really. It was in October of 2007, I believe, and to compare the two reentries, I'm sure that they are radically different from each other.
Yes, in fact, and of course, quite an eventful increment for Doug Wheelock as he performed those 3 spacewalks with Tracy Caldwell Dyson to replace the failed pump module on the International Space Station in one of the true seminal moments of that increment that restored full power to the International Space Station. Wheelock getting his blood pressure taken, which is customary by the team of Russian nurses and the medical team that's on hand here. But the NASA flight surgeon, Shannon Moynihan, is by Shannon Walker, and Dr. Bob Haddon, the flight surgeon, is with Doug Wheelock, but he looks to be in great shape.
Yeah, we see Wheelock smiling at the camera now. He looks phenomenal.
Well, we'll stand by here with you, Josh, while we enjoy the view of the 3 crew members. How do you feel? How is the descent? How does the station look as you undock?
Yeah, we were able to wait when you raised our head to yeah, it's beautiful.
We'll have a chance to talk later. Thank you, Doug, and welcome back.
Thank you.
And I hope you were able to catch that, Josh. A few words from Doug Wheelock. We'll have a chance to talk to him later back in Kustenai. But the 3 crew members in outstanding shape as they get a few minutes to enjoy the smell of Earth for the first time in 5.5 months before they are brought into the medical tent to get out of their Sokol launch and entry suits into more comfortable flight suits and to be prepared for their helicopter ride in their respective helicopters.